how in the world was that made? It's a 40,000 pound boulder.
All of this is coming from inside that circular feature.
I've never ever been able to get in here because the swamp's always been high.
For decades, the narrative of Oak Island has been dominated by a specific brand of masculine grit. It is a story of heavy machinery, war room theories, and the relentless pursuit of the Lagina brothers, Rick and Marty, alongside the exuberant treasure hunting of Gary Drayton. However, this focused lens often obscures the women who hold the actual keys to the mystery, the female scientists, archaeologists, and engineers who process the raw data. If Miriam Amirault, Emma Culligan, Helen Sheldon, and Vanessa Lucido were to fully break their silence and bypass the constraints of television production, they might reveal a version of Oak Island that is far more complex and perhaps more unsettling than the treasure hunting mythology suggests. Miriam Amirault. What the ground really says. Miriam Amirault emerged as a fan favorite, not because of wild theories, but because of her refusal to indulge them. As a field archaeologist, her allegiance is to stratigraphy, the layers of soil that act as a chronological record of human activity. While the Fellowship often looks for anomalies that might suggest a treasure chest, Miriam's tell-all would center on the stark reality of what the dirt actually confirms. In a professional exposé, Miriam would likely reveal the deep frustration of working within a treasure-first framework. To an archaeologist, a stone foundation or a drainage feature is a primary find. To a treasure hunter, it is an obstacle in the way of the money pit. Her silence, once broken, would highlight the disconnect between these two worlds. For instance, her work on Lot 5 uncovered a wealth of domestic and industrial artifacts, pottery, tools, and structural remains that point to a sustained, sophisticated human presence on the island long before the 1795 discovery of the money pit.
Hey.
Hey, Dave.
Hi.
What
got
do
there?
you have there?
We found something in the swamp.
The tell-all here is that the island's most intriguing finds often do not support the idea of a single, massive hoard. Instead, they suggest a complex, multi-generational occupation involving military logistics, salt production, or secret naval repairs. Miriam's perspective would expose how often treasure fever leads the team to overlook the significance of mundane items. While fans wait for a chest of jewels, Miriam has seen the evidence of a massive, coordinated effort by hundreds of people whose names have been erased by time. Her revelation would be simple. The real mystery isn't what is buried, but who was there, and why they built such permanent, high-effort structures on a remote island. Emma Culligan, the one who could cut through the hype. If Miriam provides the context of the ground, Emma Culligan provides the definitive truth of the material. As an archaeometallurgist, Emma's lane is technical verification. She is the gatekeeper of the laboratory, the one who subjects top-pocket finds to the cold, hard light of scanning electron microscopy, SEM, and X-ray fluorescence, XRF. Emma's tell-all would be the most devastating to the more fringe theories. While a rusty nail might be framed on camera as a potential Roman or Templar artifact, Emma's job is to analyze the trace elements.
So we are seeing some very small quantities, so I had to do a lot of double checking.
The lead isotopes, the manganese content, and the slag inclusions. She can tell the difference between 17th century European iron and 19th century colonial scrap. Her metallurgical interpretation of the Lot 7 trade weight is a perfect example of her role as the island's primary truth teller. In an unfiltered scenario, Emma would reveal how much hype is filtered out in the lab. She sees the data that contradicts the sensationalism. For example, if a lead cross is found, the isotopes might link it to a specific mine in France or Spain. However, Emma understands that a French lead mine, being the source of an artifact, doesn't automatically mean the Knights Templar were involved. It could simply mean a French merchant ship stopped for repairs in 1720. Her break their silence moment would involve detailing which discoveries the science actually prioritized versus which ones the fans fixated on. She would likely reveal that the chemical signatures of the island's metal finds point toward a much more logical, though perhaps less romantic, history of global trade and secret military outposts. For Emma, the data is the only thing that doesn't lie, and her silence being broken would mean admitting that the science often points to a boring truth that the show's narrative might prefer to ignore. Helen Sheldon, the quiet archaeology perspective. Helen Sheldon represents the systematic, long-form side of the island's investigation.
These definitely, because of the decoration.
Okay.
That's called press molded. And this sort of press molding started in 1740.
While Miriam is often in the trenches, Helen's work involves the broader analysis of patterns, how artifacts, site features, and soil morphology coalesce into a historical narrative. Her tell-all would focus on the patterns of excavation that suggest Oak Island was never intended to be a simple hole in the ground. In a character drama framing, Helen's perspective is the most grounded. She has seen how often fan theories run miles ahead of the actual evidence. Her section of the exposé would lean into the fieldwork side, the repeated discovery of adze-cut wood, the specific alignment of stone paths, and the curious absence of certain expected artifacts. Helen would likely reveal that the island's features, such as the stone wharves and the swamp's hidden structures, look less like a pirate's hiding spot and more like a deliberately engineered facility. Her silence would expose the reality of site bias. When you are looking for treasure, every rock looks like a marker. Helen's data, however, suggests that the island was a site of high-intensity industrial or military activity. She would tell all about the features that the team finds which don't fit the money pit narrative, sites that suggest the island was a hub for something like a secret colonial mint or a dry docking station for the British or French Navy. Her contribution to the truth is the realization that the island's builders were not hiders, they were engineers. Vanessa Lucido, What the Big Dig Strategy Really Costs. Vanessa Lucido stands in stark contrast to the archaeologists. As the CEO of ROC Equipment, she represents the heavy metal side of the operation. Her world is defined by 10-foot-wide steel caissons, high-pressure hydraulics, and the terrifying reality of the money pit's geology. If Vanessa were to tell all, her story would be one of operational physics and the brutal cost of chasing a ghost. Vanessa's tell-all angle is the most visceral because it involves risk. She understands what it takes to attack the money pit, and more importantly, she knows how often the island fights back. Her silence, once broken, would reveal the logistical nightmare of the garden shaft and the massive caissons, like Baby Jane. She would likely reveal the immense pressure of managing these digs where a single mechanical failure or a shift in the flood tunnels can waste millions of dollars in seconds. To Vanessa, the mystery isn't an archaeological puzzle, it's an engineering obstacle. Her tell-all would expose the reality that no matter how much steel you drive into the ground, the flood tunnels and the island's porous limestone and hydrite make traditional treasure recovery nearly impossible. She would reveal whether the show's most expensive strategies have actually changed the game or if they are simply a more modern way of failing at the same task searchers have faced for 200 years. Her perspective would highlight the tension between the dream of the money pit and the physics of the soil. If Vanessa says the money pit is a collapse-prone death trap that has been churned so many times, it's now an undifferentiated soup of debris.
We're going to keep digging. We're going to get this can down tonight. And then probably start again tomorrow.
That is a truth that many fans are not ready to hear. What they could expose together. The Silent Council. If Miriam, Emma, Helen, and Vanessa sat down together in a quiet room far from the cameras, the story of Oak Island would change forever. These four women are the ones who handle the real data every day. They see the tiny details that the heavy machines often crush. If they compared their notes without the pressure of the fellowship or the television crew, they would likely break their silence. They would stop talking about treasure chests and start talking about a historical truth that is much more interesting. Together, they would dismantle the old myth of buried treasure to show something much more powerful. They would build a new picture of the island that focuses on real evidence instead of just hope. Vanessa and Helen have a very clear view of the island's structure. Vanessa deals with the massive steel pipes and the heavy machinery needed to reach deep into the ground. She knows how hard it is to move that much dirt and how much it costs to fight the water. Helen studies the features left behind by the people who lived on the island long ago, like stone walls and hidden paths. If they put their findings together, they would agree that the island was built upon, not just dug into. The things they have found, like the huge wharves and the complex flood tunnels, were not made by a few pirates in the middle of the night. This was a massive project that needed a state-level budget. It looks like something a government or a very large company would do. It wasn't just a few men hiding a box of gold. It was a major industrial operation that involved hundreds of workers and a lot of careful planning. Emma and Miriam would then add what they know about time and science. Emma uses her lab to test every piece of metal to see where it came from and how old it is. Miriam digs through the layers of the earth to see the order in which things were placed there. Their data would match up perfectly. They would show that the biggest activity on the island happened many years before the money pit was ever discovered in 1795. The science would prove that this was not a one-time event where someone buried a secret and left. Instead, it was a long-term job like mining for minerals or repairing large ships for a navy. They would reveal that the dates everyone talks about are not the whole story. The artifacts show a history of global trade and military work that has been forgotten by the world. The most exciting part of their tell-all would be the idea of a giant trick. They would expose a secret that most people have missed. They might say that the money pit is the greatest red herring in history. By making everyone focus on one deep hole, the people who built the structures on Oak Island were able to hide what they were really doing. While searchers spend millions of dollars digging in the mud, the real secrets are spread out across the whole island. This distraction kept the secret safe for hundreds of years.
If you were to drag it in, it would destroy this.
I'm not thinking about how they did it as much as the why.
The women would say that the mystery keeps going because everyone is asking the wrong questions. The evidence in their hands does not point to a wooden chest full of gold coins. It points to a forgotten chapter of history involving secret voyages and high-level engineering. This truth is far more important than any gold. It is a story of how the North Atlantic was used in ways that were never recorded in history books. They would reveal that the real secret of Oak Island is the incredible human effort that was hidden in plain sight for centuries. Their combined voice is the closest thing to the truth that fans have ever heard. The Staggering Reality. To find the real story of Oak Island, we must look at the secret moments where these women saw things the cameras missed. If they finally broke their silence to tell all, they would show us that we are looking at a giant puzzle where the pieces do not fit the picture on the box. While the men are often blinded by the hope of finding gold, these women are busy documenting the actual structures hidden in the mud. Miriam saw something in the swamp that changed everything. While the men talked about a hidden shipwreck, Miriam saw a stone road. To a scientist who digs in the dirt, a road means a destination. It means people were moving very heavy things in large amounts. Her tell-all would reveal what she has seen firsthand. The swamp is not a graveyard for a ship. Instead, it is a paved floor for a massive industrial workplace. Emma looked at a simple trade weight and saw a tool of business. Her testing showed that this was not just an old piece of metal. It was a specific tool used for weighing items to be sold. This suggests that the island was a place of busy work, not just a quiet spot to hide a vault. Helen looked at the survey maps and found a level of skill that pirates simply did not have. The island was mapped with such great care that it proves the builders were very smart and highly trained. They were not just digging random holes, they were following a master plan. Vanessa saw the truth in the drill logs. The logs showed empty spaces and wood deep underground. This suggests that the people who built the money pit had skills and tools that we did not think were possible in the 1700s. The biggest secret is that Oak Island is not a treasure hunt anymore. It is a mission to find a lost history. These women see this truth every day in the pieces they find. They know that the stone foundations were laid by experts. If they spoke out and shared what they really know, the world would have to admit we have been looking at this island with the eyes of a child. We have been hoping for gold when we should have been looking for the truth of a massive secret human effort. This is not about finding gold. It is about finding the incredible hard work of people from our past. The truth these experts found is far deeper than gold. If it's not buried treasure, what is it? Subscribe to Bravo Tango and watch our full investigation in the next video.